In the quiet moments when the restless noise of the world subsides, we often hear the faint, yet insistent pulse of questions that refuse to be silenced. Where can we ground our identity when institutions wobble and relationships fray? What foundation can bear the weight of our vulnerability when the winds of change threaten to carry away everything familiar? Psalm 62 steps into that uneasy space like a steady hand placed on a trembling shoulder, composed in an era that knew both opulence and exile. Its lines breathe with honesty about pressure, deceit, and fragility, yet they never surrender to despair. Instead, they present a vision of rest that is found not in circumstance, but in a presence. This song is more than ancient poetry. It is a living map toward an interior refuge unshaken by outward turbulence. In our age of 24-hour content cycles and hyper-accelerated ambitions, the Psalm's voice stands out, like a clear bell inviting us to slow our pulse, listen deeply, and discover a sacred stillness that no storm can breach. Psalm 62 opens with a declaration so bold it almost startles. My soul finds rest in God alone. The Hebrew verb, translated as finds rest, carries the sense of silent waiting, a settled calm that refuses to be panicked by circumstances. David is not offering a casual suggestion for stress reduction. He is naming a spiritual geography in which the interior life is anchored to something unshakable. The phrase God alone forms a refrain that will echo throughout the psalm, like a tow line, keeping the vessel of the heart from drifting into anxious waters. The imagery intensifies with metaphors of rock fortress and salvation. These are not ornamental phrases, but experiential confessions forged in hardship. A rock suggests mass and permanence, something that does not recoil when struck by wave or blade. A fortress evokes deliberate construction, a place reinforced against intrusion. Salvation encompasses rescue from external danger and internal despair. When David stacks these metaphors, he crafts a multidimensional portrait of security. He is saying that the divine refuge is simultaneously naturally immense, carefully constructed, and personally redemptive. The psalm then pivots to confront the transitory nature of human schemes. The text paints a stark contrast. A person who leans on corruption or violence is like a breath, a fleeting vapor that vanishes when touched by the cold morning air. By describing oppressive power as vapor, David not only diminishes its threat, but also exposes its ephemerality. The visual is cinematic. The tyrant raises a fist only to dissolve into mist that cannot retain form under the rising sun. This reversal invites a reevaluation of every structure we fear. It announces that injustice, though loud, is inherently short-lived compared with the quiet durability of divine faithfulness. Midway through the song, David addresses the community directly. Trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts before him. The shift from solitary testimony to communal exhortation reveals an essential principle. Spirituality is not a private luxury, but a collective calling. The metaphor of pouring out suggests the uncorking of hidden anxieties and aspirations. Nothing is too raw for this sanctuary. The invitation is revolutionary in a culture that prizes self-sufficiency, because it authorizes vulnerability as an act of worship. Another layer of the composition critiques the allure of monetary accumulation. Though your riches increase, do not set your heart on them. Ancient Israel was familiar with sudden influxes of plunder after battles or harvest surpluses that could swell a family treasury. Yet David warns that the heart is a treacherous negotiator, prone to fastening its affection to whatever promises immediate advantage. When financial gain becomes the repository of hope, anxiety multiplies in direct proportion to the size of the deposit. David redirects attention toward treasure that cannot be stolen, taxed, or devalued. The climax arrives when the psalmist condenses the revelation of divine character into two magnificent attributes. Power belongs to God, and with God there is unfailing love. Strength and steadfast affection coexist without tension. This duality corrects caricatures that depict the divine either as an unfeeling sovereign or a sentimental companion lacking influence. Instead, strength is married to kindness and authority, wedded to compassion. The entire psalm leans on that union. It is because God is powerful that refuge is possible, and because God is loving that refuge is welcoming. Translating this ancient hymn into the language of contemporary longing invites creative storytelling. A content creator might begin a video by sharing a personal story of disappointment with systems that promised stability. Perhaps a venture that collapsed, or a relationship that withered under unmet expectations. The story sets the stage for the question, where then is our refuge? From there, the script can weave the metaphors of Psalm 62 into modern imagery. A rock can become a mountain silhouette at sunrise, a fortress a lighthouse braced against relentless waves, salvation a lifeline tossed toward someone floundering in open water. The call to silence can be embodied through intentional pauses on screen. Instead of filling every second with commentary, allow ambient sound and lingering shots to invite the viewer into the spiritual posture the psalm commends. This technique not only honors the content, but also differentiates the video from frenetic pacing common in online media. Silence becomes part of the storytelling architecture, echoing the psalm's opening claim that rest is found in God alone. Community engagement blossoms when viewers are encouraged to use the comment section as a space to pour out their hearts. The host might read selections in a subsequent episode, demonstrating that vulnerability is met not with condemnation, but with prayer, empathy, and sometimes practical aid. Over time, the channel evolves into a digital sanctuary where honesty meets compassion, reflecting the psalm's movement from personal declaration to communal invitation. Another practical segment can address wealth without moralizing. Interview guests who have reimagined success in non-material terms, artists, teachers, volunteers whose lives display freedom from compulsive accumulation. Their testimonies place flesh on the psalm's warning against setting the heart on riches and offer viewers tangible models of alternative metrics for significance and security. Throughout the presentation, return to the refrain, "My soul finds rest in God alone." Repetition here is rhythm, not redundancy. Like a chorus in a song, it moves truth from cognition to conviction. Each appearance can layer a fresh facet of application. Rest from comparison, rest from fear of failure, rest from the tyranny of urgency. The cumulative effect is meditative. The viewer begins to internalize the declaration as personal confession. A theological exploration can deepen reflection by examining the Hebrew term chesed, translated as unfailing love, a covenant-keeping loyalty that binds God to the welfare of the beloved. Trace that thread through the wider biblical story, culminating in the life of Christ, who embodies the union of power and love. This connection situates the psalm within a grand narrative, where God consistently draws near to protect, liberate, and restore. Visual symbolism can reinforce meaning. Slow-motion footage of fog, lifting under the first rays of light, while a voiceover recites the contrast between fleeting breath and enduring refuge, or a stone set beside moving water, each time the refrain surfaces, reminding viewers that firmness and fluidity coexist in the life of faith. A musical score that begins with minimal instrumentation and gradually builds can mirror the journey from solitary stillness to collective declaration. Body language and tone matter. Speak with measured cadence and calm resonance, mirroring the stillness the psalm celebrates. Avoid sensationalism and let authenticity carry the narrative. When referencing personal struggles, do so with transparency yet restraint, guarding against voyeuristic oversharing. The aim is to guide viewers toward trust, not to turn private pain into spectacle. Every pilgrim on the road of faith eventually discovers that the greatest miracle is not a life without storms, but a soul unmoved within the storm. David learned that truth in caves and courts, in triumphal processions and tear-stained nights of exile. The psalm teaches a different arithmetic, one that subtracts nothing from hardship, yet still yields peace, because it adds the infinite weight of divine perseverance. Remember that creating a digital meditation is about more than delivering information. It is about crafting an encounter where insight meets intimacy. Subtle visual motifs can echo the psalmic imagery, while soft ambient textures, such as the distant call of birds at dawn, underscore references to new beginnings. Collaboration can deepen impact. Musicians may compose an original theme that grows with the narrative arc, and visual artists might contribute sketches inspired by phrases from the psalm. Such partnerships transform exposition into dialogue, turning the project into an open table where every creative voice finds welcome. Finally, provide avenues for continued reflection once the video ends. A downloadable guide with journaling prompts, a contemplative playlist, or a scheduled live stream of collective prayer can extend resonance beyond the first viewing. In this way, the Song of Trust moves from screen to daily rhythm, growing muscular through repetition and shared practice. As the camera slowly widens, perhaps revealing an open horizon or the gentle rhythm of waves, the closing words gather the threads of Psalm 62 into a single tapestry of hope. We entered this reflection with questions about security, meaning, and permanence. We discovered an ancient voice that refuses to let fear or ambition claim the final word. Instead, it sings of a refuge immovable, of strength married to love, and of a rest that begins not when circumstances change, but when trust is transferred to the one who transcends circumstances. Offer a final benediction and invite viewers to sit for a moment of intentional stillness. Allow a few breaths of visual quiet, maybe a candle flame or a wide sky, while gentle instrumental music sustains the atmosphere. Encourage them to whisper the refrain, "My soul finds rest in God alone." Once those words pass their lips, the psalm no longer belongs only to David or to ancient Israel. It belongs to them. The thousands who press play might arrive with hurried hearts, yet they can depart with anchored spirits. That silent transfer of weight from human schemes to divine sufficiency is the quiet wonder Psalm 62 offers. and it is the priceless gift your video can impart to a noisy and unsettled world.